Good morning, all of you guys. So in this video, we'll be discussing methods of differentiation. So before we start off with differentiation, I would like to just show you these slides. So you can ace Unacademy Champion League UCL for JE and you can have a chance to win and get inspired by Sachin Tendulkar. The aptitude test for this is on December 18th and 19th as well as on 26th, 1 p.m. onwards. So you can enroll now, and while enrolling, you can also use my code EVK Live. This code can be used to enroll. So Unacademy Champions League is back once again for you. These are the cash prizes and also the scholarship that you can get. Like rank 1 to 10 can get prizes of 20,000 and 11 to 30, 10,000, 31 to 50, 6,000. For 50 to 200, there is no prize, cash prize as such. But you can see these are the scholarships 100%, 50, 25 and 15%. But for the finals, this was for the group stage. For the finals, you can have higher prizes. Like you can have 1 lakh cash prize for the first ranker, 60,000 for second and third, 50,000 for 4 to 10. And rest of them, there is no cash prize, but scholarships are there for all categories. You can see like 100% for first three categories, 50% for 11 to 30, 25 and 15% for the last two categories. And you can also stand a chance to win Amazon gift vouchers. So you can scan this QR to enroll. And this IIT Mega Combat, usually it is conducted almost every Sunday. 19th December, it is going to be conducted at 11 a.m. So this is for class 11, class 12 and class 13 students. Separate test will be conducted. It's a 60-minute test having 21 questions. So you'll be having multiple choice correct questions curated by top educators, and you can win rewards worth 5 crore. Like rank 1 can get gold medal plus merit certificate, rank 2 can get silver medal plus merit certificate, and rank 3 can get bronze medal and merit certificate. Also, you can see you can win a lot of other prizes like MacBook Air, iPad, Samsung Mobile, JBL headphones, Amazon vouchers, etc. Also, we'll be giving merit certificates for top 50 rankers. So, for top 500 lucky aspirants, there are some exciting gifts also. And this is regarding our subscription for December. So, if you buy a 6 months iconic subscription, you'll get 1 month extension. And if you buy 18 months, you'll get 2 months extension. And you'll be getting additional LMP sessions for the extended month. So you can subscribe now and the offer is valid till 22nd December 2021. And we are also starting different batches like Striker batch for JEE Main and Advanced 2022. The batch start date is 15th December. And these are the teachers you can have, you can see. So this is a 4-month revision course, JEE Main and Advanced, and there are different top educators and you can see the list of the teachers who are teaching here. So here you'll be having quick revision of theory and pool of questions together. And there's a rapid revision program for JEE Main and Advanced 2022 starting from 15th December. Almost we'll be again having 4 months revision, problem solving and concepts, quick revision, etc. with these educators. And you also have an excellence batch for class 11 JEE Main and Advanced 2023 for 11th graders starting from 15th December. Yeah, so your backlogs will be covered. You have a last chance to prepare, and these are the educators who are teaching. So this is the schedule for day 2, day 3. You can just have a look at it. Yeah, so this is about our slides and different programs that we are conducting. Now let me discuss our topic, that is introduction to derivatives. So under methods of differentiation, the first topic I'm going to discuss is introduction to derivatives. So let us understand the meaning of a derivative here. Let us understand the meaning of derivatives. So if I have to define a derivative, we can define it like this. It is a mathematical tool. It is a mathematical tool which is used to measure, which is used to measure the rate of change of one quantity, the rate of change of one quantity with respect to another, So let us clearly understand the meaning of this. Like for example, we have area of a circle is given by pi r square. So here you say area depends on the radius, or area is a function of radius. You can say f of r. So in this, r is called independent variable. R is called as the independent variable. And this a is called as the dependent variable. Area depends on the radius, so a is called as dependent variable. So you know that whenever the radius of a circle changes, area also changes. So r is independent, area is dependent. As r varies, a also varies. And if you want to measure the rate of change of area with reference to the radius, how area changes with reference to radius, if you want to find out the rate of change of area with reference to radius, so rate of change of area with respect to radius, r which is the radius, then we use a mathematical tool called derivative. So can be measured using derivative. So this derivative is a mathematical tool which is used to measure the rate of change of one quantity with reference to the another whenever one of them has a functional dependency on the other. Let us put it in a more general way. So whenever y is a function of x here, y has a functional dependency on x. So if you want to measure the rate of change of y with reference to x, you can use derivative as a mathematical tool. So you usually denote that as dy by dx. Sometimes we also use the terminology delta y by delta x also. Let us understand what is the difference between these two and how they are connected. So let us suppose I draw the graph of y equal to some function of x. Let me draw the graph of y equal to function of x. Say, let us say this is the graph of the function. And on this graph, I'm choosing 2 points so that one of them has an x coordinate x. So y coordinate of that will be obviously f of x. And another quantity that I'm going to choose on the graph will be, so let's say this is having x, and if you move delta x units this side, just even though I've shown a higher gap here, you are moving very, very close to it. So let us say this gap is delta x. This was x. This was your x, and you're moving delta x units right side. So this point is going to be x plus delta x, the x coordinate, and because it lies on y equal to f of x, the y coordinate is going to be f of x plus delta x. When you join these points, let us name them as a and b. AB is a chord of the curve. So by geometry, coordinate geometry, you can write the slope of this chord. So when you write down the slope of the chord AB, how do we write the chord slope? Difference in their y coordinates by difference in their x coordinates. So I can write here f of x plus delta x minus f of x divided by x plus delta x minus x. So this is the slope of the chord. You can change, you can cancel out x here and represent this as change in y is the numerator, by change in x is denominator. We can use delta y by delta x. So when you move from a to b, there is a change in y. The numerator represents the change in y, and when you go along the x, there is a change in x, that is delta x. So denominator is delta x. So this we can just say delta y by delta x is the slope of the chord, and you are measuring the rate of change over an interval from a to b. As you move from this point to this point, there is some interval because x will vary over an interval here from a to b. So this is called average rate of change. So this can be called as average rate of change of y with reference to x. So the slope of the chord is average rate of change of y with respect to x. So geometrically, what does delta y by delta x denote? It is the slope of the chord, which is also the rate of change of average rate of change of y with respect to x. Now, what happens if the chord moves closer and closer to point A? Suppose if the chord moves here, the chord got changed in size, it has become smaller. If it moves further close here, the chord still got smaller. At some instant, the chord becomes a tangent. So when B is almost coinciding with A, or when B is very, very close to A, you can say when B is tending to A or B is very, very close to A, as you see in limits, then the chord AB becomes tangent at A. You can say this chord becomes a tangent at A. So therefore, when you say limit of B tending to A, you can say that the gap will tend to 0, because when B tends to A, the B and A are almost coinciding, delta x will tend to 0. You can say it's almost same as saying delta x tends to 0. The limiting value of this slope of the chord when B approaches A will actually give you slope of the tangent at A. The chord now becomes the tangent at A, and it is a tangent at a particular point. So here it is actually giving us the rate of change at a particular point. So this is called as derivative. So dy by dx is nothing but the slope of the tangent at A, which is used to measure the instantaneous rate of change or rate of change at a particular point. This is limit delta x tends to 0. Slope of the chord was already delta y by delta x. So this delta y by delta x is called average rate of change, and dy by dx is called instantaneous rate of change. So this dy by dx denotes instantaneous rate of change, instantaneous rate of change of y with respect to x. Whereas what does this delta y by delta x denote? average rate of change, average rate of change of y with respect to x. So whenever you want to connect them, this is the result. Dy by dx is limiting value of average rate as delta x tends to 0. Geometrically, if you see dy by dx is the tangent slope, and that is the limiting value of the chord slope, and one of them approaches the other point. Out of AB chord, B tends to A, the chord becomes a tangent at A. So this is the geometrical meaning of the derivative. And further, you can write dy by dx is equal to limit of delta x tends to 0, f of x plus delta x minus f of x divided by delta x. So instead of delta x, even h can be used. The symbol you can also use h instead of delta x. So in some books, you can also write limit h tends to 0, f of x plus h minus f of x by h is given. So it's the same thing where delta x is represented as h. So you can use any notation, either you can use delta x or you can also use h. So this will be the formula for the derivative. And any derivative formula you are going to derive only from this, and anything derived from it is called derivative from first principles or ab initio. So if you find out any derivative formula from here, you call it as derivative from first principles. So I'll just write down here, derivative from first principles. Whenever they say find the derivative from first principles, we always have to use this formula and find the derivative. It's also called as ab initio. Ab initio. So now let me explain how to find the derivative of some simple function. Like for example, I have y equal to x square. I want to find out a formula for dy by dx. Then what do we do? So directly we can say dy by dx is defined as, suppose I name this as f of x. What is the definition? Limit h tends to 0. Just now we have written f of x plus, instead of delta x I have chosen h. F of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. So this will give you limit h tends to 0. F of x plus h means already f of x is known to be x square. You change x as x plus h, it will give you x plus h whole square. Minus f of x, you can write x square divided by h. Now let's simplify this further. You can also write this as limit h tends to 0. Now either you can expand x plus h whole square with a plus b whole square, or both terms in the numerator can be simplified with a square minus b square, that is a plus b. So x plus x into a minus b, that is x plus h minus x divided by h. So now you can see this x cancels out and will be left out with limit h tends to 0. So x plus h is 2x plus h multiplied with h is left out divided by h. Also you can cancel out this h, and when you put h as 0, the value of the limit will become 2x. So we can clearly see that if y is x square, dy by dx is 2x. So this can also be represented in a different way, that is d by dx of y is x square is equal to 2x. So I just did it with a simple example, but you can also do it in a more general way and derive a result that d by dx of x to the power of n is always equal to n into x power n minus 1. So this is a generalized result which you can derive in the same manner. So to make the calculation simple, I have chosen it with x square. Otherwise, you can just see that whenever you write differentiation of a power function is variable power constant. So this type of function is called as a power function where you have variable power constant. How do we write the derivative? The power into the variable power n minus 1. The power got reduced by 1. So like for example, if I ask you what is d by dx of x power 4, you just write 4, the power multiplies, then reduce the power of x by 1. So 4x power 4 minus 1 like this. Or if you want to write something like d by dx of root x, so you can actually write this as d by dx of x power 1 by 2 and apply the same formula nx power n minus 1. So power will multiply and the power of the variable will reduce by 1. So this will give you 1 by 2 into x power minus half, which is 1 by root x. So this you can actually remember as a direct formula. The d by dx of root x is 1 by 2 root x. So some standard results. Instead of always calculating, you can remember root x has a derivative 1 by 2 root x. This is the derivative of the power function. So now we'll find the derivative for exponential function y equal to e power x. So I'll assume this as some f of x. If I want to find the derivative, first we should be familiar with the limit formula here. The limit formula that you are going to use is limit x tends to 0. E power x minus 1 by x is always equal to 1. And remember, it's not necessary that the variable must be the same. You can have some h tends to 0 and the variable must be same inside the limit. Even then you can write 1. It's not necessary that the variable should always be x. So now to derive a formula for dy by dx here, we write dy by dx equal to limit of h tends to 0, f of x plus h minus f of x by h. So any derivative formula you derive from this formula is called derivative from first principles. So this is basis for all derivative formulas. So main functions you derive with this, and remaining differentiation formulas are derived using the standard derivatives. So we can write limit h tends to 0. What is our f of x plus h here? E power x plus h minus f of x is e power x divided by h. So this is also same as limit h tends to 0. Let us suppose I take e power x common. We can write e power x into e power h minus 1 by h. Now, when you have limit h tends to 0, the variable inside the limit is only h. So e power x is a constant. Take it out. For as far as the limit is concerned, x is constant. So you can take out e power x and write this as e power x into limit h tends to 0 e power h minus 1 by h. But already you know that this limit is 1. So you can therefore write the answer as e power x into 1, that is e to the power of x. So we therefore get the differentiation formula for the function e power x as e power x. So this is the derivative of the exponential function with base as e. So you can also have a more general case. For example, you can also write y is equal to a power x, where a is any number which is greater than 0 and not equal to 1. It can be any number, not only e here. So if you have to find a derivative formula for this, in case you have to find out a derivative formula for this, what do we do again? We need to know this limit formula, limit of x tends to 0, a power x minus 1 by x. We already derived this earlier. It is log a base e. In limits chapter, we have done it. So instead of x, if it is h also, we can still apply the same formula. That is limit h tends to 0, a power h minus 1 by h is log a to the base e. So you can therefore say, if you want to find a derivative formula for this, we can again go with first principles. That is limit h tends to 0, f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. So that is same as limit h tends to 0. What is our f of x plus h here? Replace x with x plus h. It becomes a power x plus h minus what is our f of x here? It is a power x divided by h. Now further you can also write this as limit h tends to 0. We know that a power of m plus n is a power m into a power n. So a power x plus h can be split as a power x into a power h minus a power x will write as it is and divide by h. Now let us take a power x common here. We can write limit h tends to 0, a power x into a power h minus 1 by h. Now while applying the limit formula here again, because h is the variable for the limit, a power x can be taken out. And you can therefore write this as a power x into limit h tends to 0, a power h minus 1 divided by h. Now already you know that a power h minus 1 by h limit formula is log a. So you can write the answer as a power x into log a to the base e. Or you can also write a power x ln a. Whenever the base is e, you can also use the ln notation. So differentiation for a power x is a power x into ln a. So both e power x and a power x are called as exponential functions. And now we derived a formula for derivative for exponential function. And before this, we did it for x power n, that is called power function. So if it is variable power constant, it is a power function. And if it is a constant power variable, it is exponential function. So let me just write down. So if you have a variable power constant, this is called as a power function. So for a power function, if you have to write derivative d by dx of x power n, what was the formula we derived? Nx power n minus 1 is the formula that I have derived. Now if it is constant power variable, this type of function is called exponential function. And we already derived the derivative formula for this. What is the derivative formula? If it is differentiation for the exponential function e power x, where e is a constant whose value is 2.718. How we got this value, I'll show you later when I discuss some other method called Taylor's theorem. Using that, I'll explain expansion of e power x, and I'll also derive e power x, e value as 2.718. So right now we just derived this derivative, it is e power x, and derivative of a power x is also equal to a power x into ln a. So remember, e is 2.718 here, and the constant a is greater than 0 and not equal to 1. So a equal to e is also a special case, because this is also a value which is positive and not equal to 1. So e power x is a special case of a power x, you can say. So this is the first result. These are the other two results for the derivative formulas. Now we'll also derive a formula for derivative of a log function. The fourth one, derivative of log function, log x. So if I have to find derivative of log x, let us suppose y is equal to log x to the base e. So then again dy by dx can be written as, suppose if I name this function as f of x, again from first principles, what is dy by dx? Limit h tends to 0, f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. So this is same as limit h tends to 0. What is our f of x plus h here? Logarithm of x plus h minus logarithm of x divided by h. So the base is e here. Now suppose you combine the logs, what do you get? You can also write this as limit h tends to 0. So we know that log m minus log n is log m by n. So you can also write this as logarithm of x plus h divided by x to the base e by h. So this can also be further written as limit h tends to 0. So this is our value of dy by dx. Logarithm of, you can write inside as 1 plus h by x, and we already have here the term h. So just to match up with this h by x, you multiply and divide with x here. Then directly using the logarithmic limit formula, if h tends to 0, h by x also tends to 0. So log of 1 plus something divided by something which tends to 0. So this value is tending to 0, that logarithmic limit will be 1. And you'll be just left out with 1 by x. So 1 into 1 by x or 1 by x. So we can therefore say that differentiation for the function log x base e is given by d by dx of log x is equal to 1 by x. Or you can also say d by dx of ln x is 1 by x. Remember, this formula is derived only for base e. If it is any other base, you need to change the base of the logarithm and do differentiation. Like, let me show you for the other case. Let's say, for example, I have y equal to log x to the base a instead of log x to the base e. Then using the change of base rule, you can actually write this as, we have a property here, logarithm of a to the base b can be written as log a divided by log b to any base of our choice, which is common for both. So I'll do one thing, like I'll write base as e for both, log x by log a base e. Then you need to differentiate only log x base e because log a base e is a constant. So, but you can also bring it to numerator. We have a property that logarithm of a to the base b is 1 by logarithm of b to the base a. So any log in the denominator, if you bring it to numerator, b and a will get interchanged. So log a base c can become log e base a in numerator multiplied with log x to the base e. So now when you perform differentiation, log e base e will be a constant which will not get affected. Log x, we already derived the formula, derivative is 1 by x, so you can write that. So this is how you find the derivative when the base of the logarithm is different from e. So the formula 1 by x is valid for the base e. For other logarithms with a different base, we use this method to find out the derivatives. So this is about the derivative of the log function. Now let me tell you how to find out the derivative of trigonometric functions. So let us put the heading derivative of trigonometric functions from first principles. So derivative of trigonometric functions. So let us start with the trigonometric function y equal to sin x. I want to derive a derivative formula for this. So then again call it as f of x. Let us name it as f of x. What is dy by dx? Dy by dx is defined as limit of h tends to 0 f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. So this is same as limit h tends to 0. What is our f of x plus h here? Sin of x plus h. And what is our f of x here? Sin x divided by h. So this can be written as limit h tends to 0. Denominator, I'll write it same. For numerator, we'll apply sin c minus sin d formula. What is sin c minus sin d transformation? You know that this can be written as 2 cos of c plus d by 2 sin of c minus d by 2. So using this transformation, you can write 2 cos of sum of the angles by 2, that is x plus h plus x by 2, into sine of difference of the angles by 2, that is x plus h minus x divided by 2. So this x cancels out, and we can now write this as limit h tends to 0. 2 times cos of, you can write 2x plus h by 2, into we are getting sine of h by 2 here, and we also had a h in the denominator. So I'll write it here. And what I'll do, I'll multiply by 2 and divide by 2 here, so that when h tends to 0, h by 2 tends to 0. And this part of the limit I can write 1, because we had a formula that limit theta tends to 0. Sin theta by theta is 1. So here our theta is like h by 2. So that limit will become 1. Here 2 cancels out. In the remaining function, you can just put h equals 0. So it will be cos of 2x plus 0 by 2, which is going to be cos x. So therefore, you can say that dy by dx is cos x whenever the function y is sin x. So we now derived the formula d by dx of y, that is d by dx of sin x is equal to cos x. So this is the derivative for sine function. Just in the similar way, we can try finding the derivative of all other trigonometric functions. So let us do it for the next function. This is for sine function. Now let us do it for cos function. Y equal to cos x. So before we do this, again I'll give you cos c minus cos d formula should be known to solve this, which is minus 2 sine c plus d by 2 sine of c minus d by. So again name this as f of x. So what is the value of dy by dx from first principles? It is defined as limit h tends to 0, f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. And what is f of x plus h here? Cos of x plus h, and f of x is cos x divided by h. Now to simplify this further, you can also write this as limit h tends to 0. This cos of x plus h minus cos x you can again write by cos c minus cos d transformation, and you can write minus 2 sine c plus d by 2, that is x plus h plus x by 2, which is 2x plus h by 2, sine c minus d by 2, x plus h minus x by 2 whole divided by h. So then this x also cancels out, and we can write this as limit h tends to 0 minus 2 sine of 2x plus h by 2 multiplied with, we already had sine h by 2 and we had a h in denominator, you write below this, and we'll manipulate by multiplying and dividing by 2 again here. Then using the trigonometric limit formula, we know this limit can be written as 1. So it will reduce to minus 2 sine, this 2 also can be cancelled out. So it reduces to, this 2 gets removed because you've cancelled it already. So what is left out? Minus of sine of 2x plus 0 by 2, putting h as 0, the other limit has become 1. So this will give you the answer as minus of sin x. So the differentiation formula for cos x is minus sin x. So dy by dx you got minus sin. And what was our y here? Our y was actually cos x. So you can say derivative for the cos function is minus sin x. This is the differentiation for the function y equal to cos x. Then the next result is, let us find the differentiation formula for tan function y equal to tan x. So again name this as f of x. So by first principles, what is dy by dx? It is limit h tends to 0, f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. So that is limit h tends to 0, f of x plus h is tan x plus h minus f of x is tan x divided by h. Now we don't have any formula for tan c minus tan d like you have done earlier for sine and cos, but you can convert in sine and cos and try doing this. So the first tan function, you can write tan is sine by cos, so sine of x plus h divided by cos of x plus h. And this tan function I can write sin x by cos x. And you have whole divided by h, so you can also write into 1 by h outside like this. So that is more easy to represent. Now take LCM. You can write this as limit h tends to 0. 1 by h you write as it is. The LCM here is cos of x plus h into cos x. Right. And now this will get multiplied here. This will get multiplied here. What do you get? Sin of x plus h into cos x minus cos of x plus h into sin x. So this is same as limit h tends to 0, 1 by h into sin a cos b minus cos a sin b, sin of a minus b. So sin of x plus h minus x. This formula can be written to simplify this further. So in the numerator, you have it in the form sin a cos b minus cos a sin b, which is sin a minus b. And then denominator will write as it is cos x plus h into cos x. Now inside the bracket, suppose if we cancel out x, now it will give you limit h tends to 0. This sin h in the numerator and this h you write together as 1 unit, sin h by h. The rest of it is 1 by cos of x plus h into cos x. Now by the formula of limits, you know that sin h by h as h tends to 0 can be written as 1. In the remaining function, wherever h is there, put 0. So it will become 1 by cos of x plus 0. So cos x into cos x. So you'll actually get 1 by cos square x or secant square x. So clearly we have seen that dy by dx is secant square x whenever you have chosen the function as tan x. So you have seen that for y equal to tan x, we got dy by dx formula as secant square x. Now further, if you want to represent y as tan x again, you can also write dy by dx of y, which is tan x, is secant square x. So the differentiation formula for tan x is secant square x. This is the derivative for tan function. Likewise, let us derive the derivative for cot, cosecant and secant. So that was 7th one. Now let us derive the 8th result. For the function y equal to cot x, let us represent this as f of x again and find out the derivative formula from first principles. So here you can say dy by dx is equal to limit h tends to 0 f of x plus h minus f of x divided by h. So that is same as limit h tends to 0 cot of x plus h minus cot x divided by h. So just like the previous function tan, you do it in the same way. Change in sine and cos, take LCM and try to solve it. So let me write down limit h tends to 0. This cot can be written as cos of x plus h by sine of x plus h. And this cot x can be written as cos x by sine x. And you also have whole divided by h, which I can write into 1 by h outside. So this will be same as limit h tends to 0. So let us write 1 by h outside as it is. And the LCM in the denominator will be cos of x plus h into cos x. And when we do cross multiplication here, like this multiplies here, it will be sin x into cos x plus h minus cos x into sine of x plus h. So this would be same as limit h tends to 0, 1 by h into. Now again, the numerator is in the form of sin a cos b minus cos a sin b, sine of a minus b. So sine of x minus h you will be getting by cos of x plus h into cos x. So let us again cancel out this x from here. So let's see what are the terms you got. So cos by sine, so cos of this, okay. So cot is cos by sine we have written. After cross multiplication we got this result. And denominator was not cos, it was actually in sine function. It was not cos here. So what we got in the denominator was a sine function. Earlier we got a cos function. So now it is actually a sine function. This is sine, this is also sine function. So now you see that you can also write this as limit h tends to 0. Sine of minus h is minus sine h. So you can write minus of sine h by h. The rest of the terms are also in sine, like 1 by sine of x plus h into sine x. Now you know that as h tends to 0, sin h by h will become 1. So write 1 for that, you'll have minus 1 into. In this limit, put h 0, it will become 1 by sine square x. And you know that reciprocal of sine is cosecant. So 1 by sine square is cosecant square. There is also a minus sign. So you can write minus cosecant square x. This is the value of dy by dx. That means when you differentiate the cot function, d by dx of cot x, what is the result you are going to get? Minus cosecant square x. So we are done with almost most of the trigonometric functions. Two more we have, the standard ones, cosecant and secant. Let's do that. So this was result 8. Then we have our result 9. That is differentiation formula for cosecant x. Now in order to derive the differentiation formula for cosecant x, we again use the same first principle formula. So by first principles, what is our dy by dx? It is defined as limit h tends to 0. F of x plus h, I'll write directly now, cosecant of x plus h minus f of x, that is cosecant x divided by h. So you don't have any transformation formula again for cosecant a minus cosecant b. So it's better to convert in sign. So we write this as limit h tends to 0. This cosecant of x plus h can be written as 1 by sine of x plus h. And this cosecant x can be written as 1 by sine x divided by h. So this is same as limit h tends to 0. 1 by h you can take out. And the LCM of remaining is sine of x plus h into sine x. Then this sign multiplies here, this sign multiplies here, you'll get sine x minus sine of x plus h. Now this numerator can be simplified using the transformation of sine c minus sine d. So we can therefore write it as limit h tends to 0, 1 by h into, what is the transformation of sine c minus sine d? It is 2 cos c plus d by 2, x plus h by 2, sine of c minus d by 2, x minus of x minus h by 2, like this, by, and denominator will be sine of x plus h into sine x. So here I've used the transformation formula for sin c minus sin d again. So once we do that, here x gets cancelled out and we have limit h tends to 0. So we have h in the denominator here. You group it with sine of minus h by 2, which is minus sin h by 2. And here we already had into 2 cos 2x plus h by 2. And in the denominator, we have the function sine of x plus h and sin x. So here we'll do a small manipulation, divide by 2 and multiply by 2, but these 2's again will cancel out. So sin h by 2 by h by 2, that limit can be written 1 because as h tends to 0, h by 2 also tends to 0. And this trigonometric limit is 1. So using that you can write minus 1 there into. In this limit you put h as 0, it will become cos of x by, here also put h as 0, it will become sin x into sin x. So you know that cos by sin is cot. So these two you can combine as cot, and 1 by sin is cosecant. So you can write minus cosecant x into cot x. So the differentiation formula for cosecant, we derived it to be minus cosecant x cot x. Let me just summarize that. So derivative of cosecant x, what is the formula we got? Minus of cosecant x into cot of x. This is the derivative for cosecant. So which result is this? This is result number 9. Now finally we'll do result number 10, that is differentiation formula for secant x. So the procedure is almost the same. So what do we do again? Dy by dx equal to limit h tends to 0. F of x plus h will be secant of x plus h minus f of x will be secant x divided by h. So again, we don't have any transformation for secant a minus secant b. So convert in cos. So we therefore write limit h tends to 0. So write this h separately as 1 by h into. Secant can be written as 1 by cos x plus h, and the other secant can be written as 1 by cos x. So now finding the LCM, you can convert this as limit h tends to 0. 1 by h will write as it is. In the denominator, you have cos x into cos x plus h as the LCM. And in the numerator, you get cos x minus cos x plus h after finding LCM. Then for the numerator, you can apply the transformation for cos c minus cos d. So we'll be getting limit h tends to 0. 1 by h into what is cos c minus cos d? Minus 2 sin c plus d by 2. So 2x plus h by 2 when you add the angles and divide by 2. Sin of c by 2 or c minus d by 2. When you subtract the angles and divide by 2, you'll get minus h by 2. I wrote it directly because already we have done this many times. So cos x into cos of x plus h. Again, you know that there is a minus outside here and there is a minus here. Sin of minus theta is minus sin theta. That minus and this minus will cancel out and you'll be getting limit h tends to 0. So write sin h by 2 by h as 1 unit, and that minus sign got eliminated because that got multiplied with this minus and became plus. And this 2 here you can also write in the denominator. And then we have sin of 2x plus h by 2 divided by cos x into cos of x plus h. Again, using the limit, trigonometric limit, this limit will be 1 because as h tends to 0, h by 2 tends to 0. This trigonometric limit will become 1. In the remaining limit, put h as 0. What does it reduce to? So it will reduce to give you 1 into sin of x divided by cos x into cos x, because both the terms, wherever h is there in the numerator as well as denominator, have put 0, you will be getting this result. And you know that sin by cos is tan and 1 by cos is secant. So the answer is secant x into tan x. This is the value of dy by dx. That means when you have chosen the function y as secant x, what is the derivative formula? Secant x into tan x. So using first principles, we derive the derivative for all the standard functions. And with the help of this, we'll be able to derive the derivative for all other functions. So let me just summarize all the formulas which I've written so far. So the first one is derivative for the power function x power n. Whenever there is a power function, you can write n into x power n minus 1. This is the first result you need to remember. And the second result that you need to remember is derivative for the exponential function e power x is always equal to e to the power of x. So we already proved them. Now onwards, you can use them as formulae. And let's say, for example, you write d by dx of a power x. This is another exponential function with base as a. This is a power x into log a to the base a, or you can of course write ln a. And the fourth result is d by dx of log x. The log function will have a derivative equal to 1 by x. And now we'll write for the trigonometric functions. So d by dx of sine function, we derived it and we got the result as cos x. Then derivative for the cos function, if you write down, you will get the answer as minus of sin x. Then derivative for tan function, we got this result as secant square x. After this, we wrote derivative for cot function. So d by dx of cot x, we got the derivative formula as minus cosecant square x. And finally, you can see that derivative of cosecant will be minus cosecant x cot x. And one more result, derivative of secant x will be equal to secant x into tan x. So these are all the derivative formulas which you need to remember, which I derived with first principles. So in addition to this, you have a lot of other results like product rule, quotient rule, chain rule and all. We'll also discuss that. Now let me discuss the product rule of differentiation. So before I discuss the product rule, I'll write down certain other basic rules also. So that is, if you have something like only derivative of constant, you can write 0. So I would just mention the title as rules of differentiation. That could be better. Product rule is one such rule. Rules of differentiation. So whenever you consider the derivative of a constant, always you can write that as 0. And if you want to write the derivative of a constant multiplied with a function, always the constant comes out and we differentiate the function d by dx of f of x. Similarly, if you have something like derivative of sum of two functions f of x plus g of x, so you can write down this result as derivative of first function plus derivative of second function. So it's very simple when there is an addition or subtraction, of course. For multiplication division, we'll derive the rules called product and quotient rule. So if it is a fourth rule, suppose if it is d by dx of f of x minus g of x, if you have the functions in subtraction, we can write d by dx of f of x minus d by dx of g of x. So these are four simple rules of differentiation which we use while doing the problems. The main rules that we are going to use now are the product rule and the quotient rule. So let me explain about the product rule and also derive it. So whenever you have y is a product of two functions f of x into g of x, to make it simple, you can assume that u represents the variable u represents the function f of x and the variable v represents the function g of x. So that y is of the form u into v. And if you have to find dy by dx for this function, the rule is you write u as it is, differentiate v with reference to x, plus write v as it is, differentiate u with reference to x. This is called as the product rule of differentiation. That is, when you keep one of them same, differentiate the other. So keep u as it is, differentiate v, then keep v as it is, differentiate u. Now let me show you how we got this differentiation formula. So to derive this differentiation formula, so because u is a function of x and v is a function of x, let's say for example, if x is changing by a small amount delta x, then u will change by delta u, v will change by delta v. And obviously, so because u depends on x and v depends on x, if x is changing by delta x, u and v also change by small amount delta u and delta v. And because y depends on u and v, y will also change by delta y. So this is the variable and this is the change occurring in it. So all this happened because of change in x. When there is a change in x, the other things which are depending on x are also going to change. So because y has changed, the new value of y is y plus delta y. And u has changed, new value of u is u plus delta u, new value of v is v plus delta v. So these are the changed values now. And this can be written as y you can replace with uv. So uv plus delta y is equal to, just multiply both and open the brackets, you'll be getting u into v plus u into delta v plus v into delta u plus delta u into delta v. So just you can open the brackets and uv cancels out. We'll be getting delta y is equal to u delta v plus v delta u plus delta u into delta v. Now you can divide both sides with delta x to give average rate of change. So dividing by delta x here, you can write delta x everywhere. So only one delta x I divided. If needed, what you can do is for only for the last term, you can multiply and divide with another delta x because you have two derivative terms, delta u, delta v. Multiply and divide with delta x for the last one apart from this delta x. Now if it is dy by dx, we know that it is defined as limiting value of delta y by delta x as delta x tends to 0. So when you apply the limit, you can see that for the first one, when you apply the limit, u will remain same. But delta v by delta x is average rate of change. And when you say delta x tends to 0, that will become dv by dx, instantaneous rate of change. Same way in the second one, v remains same. This is average rate of change. When you apply the limit, it becomes du by dx. In the last one, you will get du by dx, dv by dx when you apply the limit, multiplied with 0. Because x delta x is 0. So that term becomes 0 finally, and you'll be getting the result as dy by dx equal to u into dv by dx plus v into du by dx, because the last term has become 0. This rule is called as product rule of differentiation. So I'll just discuss a simple example how to apply it, but we'll do more tough questions later. Only how to apply, I'll just show you with an example. So suppose, for example, you have something like d by dx of x cube into, say, sin x. If you have to perform differentiation, you have to treat one of them as u, the other as v. So this is say u and this is say v. How do you perform? Write u as it is, write d by dx of v, that is d by dx of sin. Then write sin as it is, write d by dx of u, that is d by dx of x cube. So this will give you x cube into, already from first principles we derived the differentiation formulas for sine. You can write directly. Sine has a derivative cos. And even for power function like x power n, we derived a formula. Using that you can write x cube as the derivative nx power n minus 1. So 3 into x square. So further you can take x square common. You can also write this as x cos x plus 3 sin x. This is the derivative. So like this you can apply the product rule. So this is just a small illustration. We'll be doing problems later. Just to understand how to apply, I gave a simple example. We'll now discuss the quotient rule. So what is quotient rule? When you have a division of two functions like f of x divided by g of x, again you can name them as u by v, where u represents f of x and v represents g of x. So to derive this differentiation formula, let me write down the first formula. Dy by dx equal to, the formula will be denominator into differentiation of numerator v du by dx minus numerator into differentiation of denominator du dv by dx by v square. So this rule is called as the quotient rule, and let me show you how to derive this. So y is u by v. So if u is a function of x and v is again a function of x, if x changes by delta x, u will also change by small amount delta u, v will change by a small amount delta v, and thereby because y is u by v, if y and u and v change, y also changes by small amount delta y. So the new value of y can be written as y plus delta y, and the new value of u is u plus delta u, new value of v is v plus delta v. Now write this y as u by v again. So u by v plus delta y is equal to u plus delta u divided by v plus delta v. Now you can bring this u by v to right hand side and write delta y is equal to u plus delta u divided by v plus delta v minus u by v. So this is same as delta y equal to LCM will be v into v plus delta v here. And if you cross multiply, v multiplies here, you get uv plus v delta u. The next one will give you uv minus u delta v. So you can cancel these two. V delta u delta v will remain. This uv's will cancel. So we have delta y is equal to v delta u minus u delta v divided by what is there in denominator, v into v plus delta v. So you can write v square plus v delta v there. Now because you want dy by dx, first you divide with delta x on both sides. So when you divide by delta x here, you will also divide with delta x here. And this delta x can be written below delta u and delta v. You can actually write v into delta u by delta x minus u into delta v divided by delta x by v square plus v delta v. And further, while converting into derivative, if you want, you can also multiply and divide only this particular term with delta x. So if you now write down dy by dx, what is dy by dx definition? The limiting value of average rate of change. So this is average rate of change. When you apply its limit as delta x tends to 0, it becomes instantaneous rate of change dy by dx. The same thing you do it for numerator. So v will remain as it is. This is average rate of change. After you apply limit, it becomes du by dx, instantaneous rate. Similarly, u will remain same. Delta v by delta x is average rate of change. It becomes dv by dx. Divided by, in the denominator, we have v square written as it is, plus v into this will become dv by dx. But because of delta x 0 into 0 will be there, that term becomes 0. So finally, we'll be getting our answer as v du by dx minus u dv by dx divided by v square, which is the formula which I already wrote earlier. So this rule is called as the quotient rule of differentiation. Quotient rule of differentiation. So these are the product rule and the quotient rule. So this result was the sixth one. So we had fifth rule as the product rule, and the sixth rule is the quotient rule. So we'll now discuss one more rule called chain rule of differentiation. So let's say, for example, y is a function of variable u, and u is a function of another variable called x. So I just took only two here. You can have any number of functions in the chain rule, but I just took a simple case. Y is a function of u is a function of x. So since y depends on u, we can find dy by du. And since u depends on x, we can find du by dx. So first you can write dy by du equal to differentiation of a function f of u is written as f dash of u. The answer will be written according to function. And if u depends on x, you can write du by dx equal to, let us use a different symbol because you cannot use the same thing for both. This is f, that is g. So du by dx equal to g dash of x. Differentiation of g will be g dash x. So now if I write down dy by dx, I can just multiply both, right? Dy by du multiplied with du by dx. So dy by du is f dash of u into du by dx is g dash of x. But you already knew that your u is g of x. So you can therefore write f dash of g of x into g dash of x. This is the result obtained by using chain rule. Now this can be written in a different way, like you can combine these two functions in the beginning only, write a composite function. So if y is f of u, you can replace this with f of u is g of x. So when you have a function inside a function like this, it is called as composite function of f and g. And if you have to write derivative, you can see the answer was derivative for f, write f dash, write the function inside as it is. Multiplied with derivative of the function inside, g of x will have a derivative g dash x. So here, because I wanted to explain chain rule, I wrote all these steps. But when you actually do a problem in practice, you can just use this rule directly. When y is a composition of two functions, we can straight away use this method. Like for example, if it is y equal to sine of something like x cube, how do you write the derivative? So you have a sine function and you have a power function x cube. So here your f is sine and your g is f is the sine function and g is the x cube function. Both have been clubbed together. So instead of writing all the steps that I wrote earlier, we can straight away write dy by dx as, first you will write the derivative for f, that is for sine it is cos, writing the value which is inside as it is. Multiplied with, you will write now the derivative for the inside function x cube. So we can therefore say this answer is cos of x cube into derivative of x cube, you can write as 3x square. So cos of x cube into 3x square or 3x square cos of x cube. So this is the derivative using chain rule. So here we have a chain of only two functions, but you can have a chain of any number of functions. Let's say, for example, you have y is equal to some function of u is equal to some function of v, and v is equal to some function of x, like this. Then if you want to find dy by dx, because y depends on you first find dy by du. Multiplied with, then u depends on v, write du by dv. Multiplied with v depends on x, write dv by dx. You now see they are same because when you cancel du and dv, it is the same thing only. So what is dy by du? Derivative of first one is f dash of u. Derivative of second one is g dash of v. And derivative of the last one is h dash of x. Now again you can change and write f dash of u. U is g of v. So you can write u as g of v into g dash of v is h of x multiplied with h dash x. Now further again you can change v and write the answer as h of x. So it will be f dash of g of h of x into g dash of h of x multiplied with h dash of x. So this is like a derivation again. When you do a problem, you don't need to do all these things. So I'll just summarize what you have done. So y was equal to function of u, and then u was g of v, and again v was g of x. So you can straight away club them like this. It's a composition of three functions. So in the beginning only you club all the functions, but usually in the question they give it like this only. In this format, they don't give separately. So it's a composition of three functions. And now if you have to write the derivative, write derivative for the outer function f, that is f dash. Inside you write as it is. Then you write the derivative for g, it will be g dash of h of x into derivative of h of x. Till you exhaust, start from outer one, then this one, this one. So start from the outer one, keep differentiating into the inner chain till you get the last function. This is the chain rule. So I showed with 2 and 3, you can apply for any number of functions. So as a simple example, let us consider, say y is equal to sine of cos of, say, x square. So if you have to find the derivative, first you write down the differentiation for the outer one, sine. So write that cos, inside function you write same. After that is over, you should write the derivative for this function, cos. Cos has the derivative minus sine. Whatever is inside that you write as it is. Then finally you should write the derivative of this function, which is 2x. So The final answer will be minus of 2x into the sine of x square multiplied with cos of x square. So this is how you find out the derivative using chain rule. So I hope all of you are clear with all the rules of differentiation, the product rule, quotient rule, chain rule, etc. So we'll be doing more problems in the next session. So I taught this topic from the basic level onwards, and the problems also I'll cover all levels from mains to advanced. So if you follow this on a regular basis, you can become thorough with this topic. Okay. So bye all of you guys. So you can watch out for more videos in the next class. Okay. Thank you so much.